Chapter 1. The Stranger in the Mist. Hello, my name is Elise Marlowe. Most people would describe me as ordinary, perhaps even boring. I work as an archivist in a dusty little library in the heart of St. Augustine, Florida. My life is quiet, predictable, and deeply rooted in routine. I wake up at 6 a.m. every morning, drink my coffee black, and spend my days cataloging forgotten books and manuscripts that no one seems to care about. But something strange happened last week, something I still can't explain, and that's why I'm writing this, hoping to make sense of it all. It all started on a Monday, when the city was wrapped in a dense, rolling fog that made everything feel otherworldly. I was unlocking the library's heavy oak doors, when I saw him, a man standing at the corner of the street, barely visible through the haze. He wore a dark coat and a hat tilted low, obscuring his face. Our eyes met, or at least I thought they did. A strange chill ran down my spine, the kind you feel when someone walks over your grave. But when I blinked, he was gone, like a shadow swallowed by the mist. Later that day, as I was shelving books in the rare collection room, I noticed something unusual. A leather-bound journal sat open on the desk, though I was certain I had left it closed. Its pages were filled with spidery handwriting. The ink faded with age. My heart skipped a beat when I read the first line. Elise Marlowe, you have to remember. I froze. My name was written there, clear as day. How could this be? The journal was over a century old. I should have put it away, locked it back in the archives, but instead, I found myself reading further. The entries spoke of a woman who looked exactly like me, a man she loved, and a betrayal that ended in tragedy. The last words made my blood run cold. He will find you again. You cannot escape the past. That night, as I walked home, I felt the same eerie sensation, like someone was watching me. And then I heard his voice, deep, smooth, and impossibly familiar. You shouldn't have opened the journal, Elise. I spun around, but the street was empty. No one was there. Only the fog and the faint echo of his words. Chapter 2. Whisper from the Past. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes. Images that didn't belong to me. A woman in a flowing gown running through a dark forest. A man with piercing green eyes shouting her name. A dagger, gleaming in the moonlight, held tightly in her trembling hand. By morning, my head was pounding, and my chest felt heavy with questions. Was I losing my mind? The rational part of me screamed that this was all just some elaborate coincidence. But my gut told a different story. When I arrived at the library, I decided to examine the journal more closely. I unlocked the door to the rare collection room and froze. The journal wasn't where I had left it. Instead, it sat in the center of the table, open to a new page. The answers are in the cellar. The cellar, of course. The library's basement was off-limits to everyone except staff. A labyrinth of forgotten relics, old furniture, and books deemed too fragile to display. I hesitated. The echo of that stranger's voice. You shouldn't have opened the journal ringing in my ears. But curiosity pulled me forward. I descended the creaky stairs into the cellar, armed with nothing but a flashlight and a racing heartbeat. The air was damp, heavy with the scent of mildew and age. As I swept the beam of light across the room, something caught my eye. A trunk. It was tucked away in the corner, its brass hinges tarnished with age. I knelt before it, my hands trembling as I lifted the lid. Inside were a collection of photographs, letters, and, most disturbingly, a mirror. The mirror was small and oval-shaped, its frame adorned with intricate carvings of roses and thorns. I lifted it cautiously, and my reflection stared back, pale and wide-eyed. But then something happened that made me drop it with a gasp. My reflection blinked, but I didn't. Before I could process what I'd seen, a whisper filled the room. Elise, don't run. I spun around, clutching the flashlight like a weapon. There he was, the man from the street corner standing just a few feet away. His dark coat seemed to absorb the dim light, and his green eyes glinted like emeralds in the shadows. "How do you know my name?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "I've always known your name," he replied. His tone calm, but laced with something I couldn't place. Regret? Sadness. "You've lived this before, Elise, and so have I." "What are you talking about?" I backed away, my pulse hammering in my ears. "You don't remember, do you?" He stepped closer, his voice softening. "The journal, the mirror, even this library, they're all pieces of what you've forgotten." "Forgotten what?" I whispered. He hesitated, as if weighing whether or not to tell me. Finally he said, "Who you really are, and who I am to you." The room seemed to tilt, and I gripped the edge of the trunk to steady myself. "This is insane. I don't know you." "But you did," he said, his green eyes locking onto mine. "And you loved me once, long ago." Chapter 3: Reflections of the Unknown. I stepped back, clutching the flashlight tighter. His words clawed at my mind, unsettling and surreal. Loved him? I didn't even know him. "Stay away," I said, my voice firmer than I felt. He raised his hands, a gesture of surrender, but his eyes never left mine. "You have questions, Elise. I'm here to help you find the answers." "I don't need your help." My gaze darted to the journal still in my hand. "You're the one who's been moving this, aren't you?" "Writing in it?" A shadow of a smile crossed his face. If only it were that simple. Before I could respond, the mirror on the floor began to hum, a soft, resonant sound that vibrated through the air. My breath caught as the surface of the mirror shimmered, like water rippling under moonlight. "What's happening?" I whispered, more to myself than to him. "The mirror reacts to you," he said quietly, as if the answer were obvious. "It's a bridge, a window between now and what was." I didn't believe him, not fully, but I couldn't deny what I was seeing. The mirror's surface darkened, and images began to take shape. A grand library, far larger and older than the one I worked in. Candlelight danced across walls lined with ancient tomes, and at the center of it all was a woman. She looked like me. "No," I murmured, shaking my head. "That's not possible." The man stepped closer, his presence unnervingly calm. "That's you, Elise. Or rather, it was you." I watched, transfixed, as the woman in the mirror bent over a desk, writing feverishly in a journal identical to the one I'd found. Her lips moved, but I couldn't hear her words. Then, as if sensing my presence, she looked up. Her eyes locked onto mine through the mirror, and I stumbled backward in shock. "What is this?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Who is she?" "She is you," he repeated. "From another life. And the journal you hold is her story." The mirror's images flickered and shifted. Now I saw her standing in a darkened room, arguing with a man. His face was obscured, but his gestures were frantic, desperate. The next moment she was running through a forest, clutching the journal to her chest. A sharp cry pierced the air as the scene dissolved into darkness. "That's enough," I said, slamming the mirror face down on the ground. The humming ceased, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. The man knelt to retrieve it, his movements slow and deliberate. "You can't run from this, Elise. The journal, the mirror, they're tied to you. And to me." Why me?" My voice cracked. "Because the past isn't finished with you." He straightened, holding the mirror out to me. "And neither is the danger that comes with it." I hesitated before taking it, the cold metal biting into my skin. "What kind of danger?" "The kind that killed you before," he said, his tone grave. "And the kind that will try to kill you again if we don't stop it." My heart thundered in my chest. "Why should I trust you?" He leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper. "Because I'm the only one who remembers how it ends." Chapter 4. Secrets of the Guardian. The journal's cryptic entries left me shaken, but his presence was what unnerved me most. He was there again, sitting in my apartment's corner as if he belonged, watching as I wrestled with the growing truth. "I deserve answers," I said, slamming the journal shut. "Who are you, really?" He hesitated, his jaw tightening. "You already know me, Elise." "No," I snapped, my voice rising. "I don't. And I'm not going to let you keep speaking in riddles." Finally, he stepped into the light, his expression a mix of resolve and regret. "My name is Adrien. In your past life, I was your protector, your partner." "Protector?" I scoffed. "Then why do I keep dying? Why are we even here?" His shoulders sagged as if my words struck a nerve. "Because I failed you." I blinked. His voice was raw, filled with something I didn't expect, guilt. "The mirror and the journal," he continued, "weren't always cursed. Decades ago, lifetimes ago, we found them together. We thought they were tools, a way to uncover forgotten knowledge. But we were wrong." "What happened?" I asked, my voice softer now. "We awakened something," Adrien said grimly. "The artifacts held a power neither of us understood, a power someone else wanted. We were hunted, and when they came for us, you—" He faltered, his green eyes darkening. "You didn't survive." A chill ran down my spine as fragmented memories from the mirror's visions resurfaced, running through the forest. Blood on my hands, a man's desperate cries. "That was you," I whispered, realization dawning. In the vision, bleeding on the floor, Adrien nodded. "I tried to stop them, but it wasn't enough. When you died, the artifacts bound us to this cycle, a punishment for unlocking their power. You reincarnate and I'm forced to remember everything." The weight of his words crashed over me. "So you've been following me lifetime after lifetime?" "Yes," he admitted. "But this time is different, Elise. You found the journal. You've started to remember. We have a chance to end this." I wanted to be angry, to scream at him for dragging me into this nightmare. But how could I blame him when his pain mirrored my own confusion? "Why now?" I asked. "Why would the journal show up again after all this time?" Adrien's jaw tightened. "Because the one who killed you before is still hunting you. They know you're the only one who can destroy the artifacts. If we don't act, history will repeat itself. And this time, I won't be able to stop it." Chapter 5. The Truth in the Mirror. With Adrien's help, I began piecing together the fragments of the journal. Each entry unlocked another vision, showing me more of the life I had once lived. One night, as I stared into the mirror, the surface shimmered and drew me in again. This time the vision was clearer. I saw myself in a grand library, holding the journal. Adrien was beside me, younger, his face filled with determination. "They'll come for us," Pasmi said, her voice steady. "We can't let them have it." "I won't let them touch you," Adrien promised. But then the scene shifted. Shadows burst through the library doors, figures cloaked in darkness. Adrien fought them off, but there were too many. I saw myself fleeing, the journal clutched to my chest. And then, the vision shattered as the mirror's surface cracked violently, pulling me back into the present. Adrien caught me before I hit the floor, his grip steady. "It's happening faster now," he said. I nodded, too shaken to speak. The vision left no doubt in my mind. Whoever those shadowed figures were, They weren't just after the artifacts. They were after me. Chapter 6. The Final Stand. As Adrien and I delved deeper, the journal revealed a ritual that could sever the curse for good, but it required the destruction of both the mirror and the journal, at the site where they had first been used, the ruins of the Grand Library. The night of the ritual, the blood moon cast an eerie glow over the ruins. Shadows moved in the corners of my vision, a whisper of the danger Adrien had warned me about. "They're here," he said, drawing closer to me. "Stay behind me." But I shook my head, gripping the journal. "No, this is my fight too." The shadows came, a swirling mass of dark figures bent on stopping us. Adrien fought them off, his movements graceful and fierce, while I recited the words from the journal. The mirror pulsed in my hands, its surface vibrating violently as the shadows surged toward me. "Elise!" Adrien shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. I raised the mirror, using every ounce of strength to smash it against the stone altar. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the ruins, and a blinding light burst forth, consuming everything. When the light faded, the shadows were gone, and the ruins were silent. Adrien knelt beside me, his face a mix of relief and exhaustion. "It's over," he said. I looked at him, my heart heavy with the weight of everything we'd endured. "Is it really?" Adrien smiled faintly, his hand brushing against mine. "This time it is. We're free." For the first time I felt a sense of peace. The curse was broken, the mirror and journal destroyed. But as I looked into Adrien's eyes, I realized something else. Freedom didn't mean forgetting. It meant starting over together. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe Fluent Through Stories, and share this story with your friends. Stay tuned for our next story. See you soon.